What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is the 2CarGuys podcast. I'm John. This is Adam, and we're going to talk about some crazy stuff today. So y'all get ready and hold on tight.
We're going to try and talk about some crazy stuff. We'll have to talk about what happened this weekend, so we'll see.
Oh man, it was a good weekend, at least for me, anyways.
So you and I finally got back together again this weekend. We got. You came up to Atlanta. So tell everybody about your trip to Atlanta.
Yeah, man. So came up to Atlanta in the Maserati, expecting to take that to Cars and Coffee, and then my buddy Adam over here was like, "Hey, man, no, you're just going to take the 600 LT." I'm like, I mean, absolutely, yes, I am. And then it rained.
I mean, it wasn't exactly rain. It was more like mist, right?
Yeah, it was like fog, misty, but you know how it is when you're a car guy and you clean your car as much as we do. I was just like, there's no way he's gonna want to take both cars and get them dirty. And he was just like, no, man, totally take the McLaren, take it. It's fine. It's gonna be just fine. I enjoy cleaning cars. I'm like, okay.
Man, I figured if I'm gonna wash one, I'm gonna wash both of them, right? Let's be honest, right? So if I'm gonna wash one, I'm gonna wash both of them.
Yeah. That's
but you had kind of a little almost an incident on the highway coming up, right?
Yes. Oh man. So I'm on the way up, and there were two Chargers, a Challenger and a Charger, something like that. I'm in Atlanta. I'm on 85 coming north, and they just like buzz the tower on me, like go straight up to the right lane, zoom around me. I'm in the Maserati, and I just have time to notice the headlight as it's like zooming past me, and I'm like, oh my god. And Jessica didn't even until they were like beside us. She was freaking out. And then so we get through that, and we're like, all right, cool, everything's good. And we get a little further down, and we're on the bypass, and there's like a spot of road that has completely just disappeared. And so we're coming along, everything's fine, and the Maserati's got like 21-inch wheels with like little tires, and it's like it just fell off a cliff. And I'm like, oh, there it goes. We just busted a tire, and we keep riding. Nothing happened. No bent rims. I'm like, okay, checking the tire pressure. Everything's fine. Finally, we get up here, and I'm just like, let me check the tires. Everything looks fine. But golly, man, that was stressful.
Man, you got lucky too, because those tires are thin. I told you it was a couple weeks ago, man. I was out in the McLaren, and I was on the bypass, and I hit like the whole side of the car fell in like a pothole. And I was
like, in the same hole.
I was like, man, I need an alignment. I
guess they're tougher than we thought,
I guess, but what I don't understand is you hit that at, what's the speed limit out there? Like 65, 75,
if you're 65, not doing 70, whatever. 85, you're getting ran over. So
right. But you hit that sucker at 80, right? And you don't bend a rim, but then you're in the, BMW and you hit it like 35 and bend the rim. Like, whatever.
It's unreal, man. Yeah, it's just, you never know.
Whatever. Whatever. Yeah. But you made it in one piece, right? Yep. You got out here, and so you and Jess came out Saturday night, right? Came here, you guys spent the night in Atlanta, and then we met up, early Sunday morning, right?
Right. Yeah.
And there was a debate whether or not we were even going to take the cars, or whether or not we were even going to go, because it was like foggy, and it was misty.
It was that weird weather where it's like, you don't know if it's going to rain. You don't know if it's going to get sunny, but it ain't great. And you're just like, there's a car show. Who's going to go to it in this weather? Right.
Right. And then two of the people we were going with, they were talking about not going because they asked you, they're like, is it going to clear up? And you're like, no,
I don't think so. I was like, well,
I don't think so.
Yeah. I was like, I just don't think so. And I was like, well, I'm going to let y'all, figure it out. And we're going to cruise on over to Adams and see what he wants to do. So we get there, and then y'all are like, I don't know. And I'm like, I didn't drive all the way to Atlanta to sit on the couch.
We could have played the racing sim all day, although you did have a catastrophic collision or whatever, that terminal collision. Yeah.
My practice on the sim is very, very little at the moment. And every time I've gotten on one, all I am is the guy that's just bouncing the car off the side of the thing. I want to be a good driver, but it ain't on a sim right now.
Literally torpedoing it into other cars.
Right.
Yeah.
The brake zones, you can't tell. There's no real pedal feel or anything like that, but call it what it is.
Yeah, that was crazy. But so the crazy part is, so we all went to Caffeine and Octane on Sunday.
Yeah.
And normally we can leave for Caffeine and Octane and roll into the exotics lot, right? We can leave for Caffeine and Octane and roll in the exotics lot at around 10. We got plenty of time, right? And dude, we left out of there and I was like, there's nobody's gonna come to this. It's gonna be dead. Because last one you came to was last month and it was dead.
Yeah, but it was also freezing.
I mean, it was freezing cold,
it was
right?
Freezing.
So I expected this one to be dead too, and it was not.
It was the opposite of that. We show up and you couldn't even turn into the exotic lot. And I will say, by the way, I think that's a little finger in the air with the exotic thing. Like, I can show up at 10, not a problem. I know it starts at
Don't judge me.
8, but we're gonna get there at 10. So, anyways, but yeah, so so we go to turn in and it's like nothing's happening. We're just parked, and I'm like, what are we doing? And then we circle around, and I guess you made a phone call and made it happen.
I did. So quick shout out to the folks over at Daily Driven Atlanta. So I hit them up and I was like, there's 5 of us and we got nowhere to park, you know?
Yeah.
And my friend brought out her new DB12 and she was excited to be in that car. And man, I was like, all right, you know, so we had a Lamborghini STO. We had a McLaren 765 LT, a 600 LT, the Aston F1, and then that new DB12. And I mean, there are 5 of us, right? So I called one of my friends and he's like, man, I've got places for you to park, but you guys aren't going to be able to park together. And then I hit up the guys over at Daily Driven and they're like, we'll make a spot, right? Just tell them you're with us. We'll roll in here. So we rolled in there. It was super cool. So did you walk around a little bit? Cause I know we did.
I did a little bit. We tried to walk to the exotic lot, but it already started kind of clearing out. And then we kind of walked over to, we walked around to the Daily Driven ATL stuff. And there were some really cool cars over there. I mean, there were 3 STOs, I think.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to see in one spot.
Right.
There was a lot. I mean, there was a lot of cool cars, man. Yeah, I mean, what all did you see that I might have missed? I know you posted some pictures. So they look good.
I did. I threw some pictures on our Instagram. So there were 2 Cybertrucks, right? One of them was owned by Tesla. Yep. One of them was owned by Tesla and they like roped it off so nobody could see it. Nobody could get up to it rather. But they had it do like the celebration dance and everything,
Right.
And I mean, okay. I'm not a fan of the Cybertruck. I'm not. I don't like the way it looks. I know it looks like tough exterior and everything, but I don't like the way it looks. I'm not a fan of the thought process behind it, but I will tell you there's probably not a better marketer on the planet than Tesla, right? Because they had people lined up to buy that thing that, and it was ridiculous. And when I got up, so that's the first one I've seen like in the flesh where you could walk up to it, right? I saw one at the dealership. Seen a couple online. I've read the reviews. I knew the issues with the car and everything. But first of all, seeing it in person, it's not as big as you thought it was going to be, right? Because they did shrink it a little bit between when they initially announced it and when it came out.
Right.
But dude, that 4-foot freaking windshield wiper on the driver's side is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life, right? And then they had 2. One was PPF, one was PPF'd and it was wrapped in black.
Right.
And then the other one was just standard. And that one had so many fingerprints on it. That would drive me insane. I'd be walking around all day just wiping fingerprints off the.
Well, I mean, you gotta give Elon some credit, man. I mean, this thing he took basically a refrigerator and made it a car, and then people were like jumping at the bit to buy it. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, that's exactly what you want as a company. But yeah, my goodness, man, I don't know that I could pay that much for an electric car right now with everything. And for us, probably would be fine. We've got 6-7 cars, not a big deal. For the average person that would try to buy that and then have it as their only vehicle, I just don't know.
But I mean, are you going to use that as a truck?
I mean, if it's all I got as a truck, absolutely. But as far as towing goes, I don't tow a lot. If you use it to go take your car to the track, obviously that's not the vehicle for you. So it just depends.
No, I wasn't a fan. Now, there were a couple really, really cool cars that I did like there, right? One of them happened to be, and I took a picture of this one. It's a Mercedes AMG. Real clean, but they had a like plexiglass on the hood to where you could see through the hood to see the engine. Corvette did that on a couple of their cars.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like about when Corvette did it is all you saw was the head of the supercharger. You didn't see anything else.
Was kind of cool.
It was cool.
Yeah.
But like when Ferrari shows the engine, they show the engine.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it was cooler to see like more of the engine, right?
Right.
I do still think it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I do still think it's cool on that particular Corvette when you can see like the supercharger, because from afar you're like, that thing's supercharged, But this thing you could see like the whole engine. It was really, really cool. I really like that. And then there was another car. It's an 87, I think it was 911 turbo.
Okay.
And it was in red, had the big, whale tail spoiler on it. And this dude had a book. I mean, John, a book like this thick of everything he did to that car to restore it. And all the little things. And see, here's something I appreciate. And we talked about it like with some of my other stuff, right? I'm a huge fan of making modifications that look factory. Right. So doing things to cars, motorcycles, whatever it might be, and making them look like it was supposed to come that way from the factory. Like, my bike, I took the mirrors off and did like bar end mirrors, and I took the logo and changed the logo so it flows with the bike. But same thing with the Aston, right? I swapped out that steering wheel, and I had people, from Aston ask me if that was the factory steering wheel, and I was like, no, So it's like, I like that sort of thing. This guy went through, and you look at that 911 and you're like, this, nothing special, right? It's an 87 911, and it's not. He trimmed like parts of the bumper so it's more sleek. He got rid of some of the turn signals and stuff. I mean, it was just,
his attention to detail was meticulous.
Unbelievable.
Right. Absolutely.
Unbelievable. It was really, really, really cool. My son really liked that one too. I mean, to be fair, all the exotics at that show were in the daily driven lot. Like everything else had pretty much gone by the time we got there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty crazy. And, like you're saying about the book and all that stuff, what hurts is whenever you take a car and you document everything like that, and then you sell it to someone and watch it just like it just met its demise. Right. And that's what happened with my DB9. Honestly, it was that situation.
It did. It happened with your DB9, but didn't you find out something at lunch on Sunday that was a little shocking to you?
You're talking about the Maserati?
Yes.
Yeah. So
tell everybody what happened with the Maserati.
The Gran Turismo. I had gotten a notification from Carvana, and it said your car is now worth $800. And I was like, which car are you talking about? And so I click in the app, and I see the VIN, and I'm like, oh, that's a Maserati VIN. That's my old Maserati. So I just take that and throw it in Google. Don't ever do that. It was a mistake. Oh man, you're talking about a letdown. The whole front end of it's KO'd and caved in. I'll send the picture up. Y'all check it out. It hurts. I'll send you a picture before I sold it, and a picture of after it met its demise. But that happened with that car. And then I sold the Aston. I had a 2009 DB9, 50,000 mile car. Had it paint corrected, ceramic coated. I did everything to it, man. New wheels, new tires, all this stuff. And it was well documented, really taken care of. I had the original Windows sticker. It MSRP'd at like $198,000. I bought it for $50,000 back in like 2017 and owned it for 5 years when I sold it. And it, sure enough, my friends were messaging me and they're like, hey man, is this your car? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's on the side of the street. And it had been there since I sold it. So I sold it to a girl who had owned a Lotus before this. And she was like, yeah, I've had a Lotus. I know exactly what I'm getting into. And I'm like, well, you do understand this needs to stay on a trickle charger. It needs to stay in the garage. Like the leather on the dash will shrink, like all these things. And she's like, yep, got it, no problem. Sure enough, it sat on the side of the street under a tree for a solid, I don't know, a year and some change. And some guy in Atlanta owns it now. And he's brought it back to its glory. But I had the book, man. I did all the documentation of everything I'd ever done. And it didn't even matter. So that's just tough, man.
It's crazy. And I'll tell you though, speaking of that, so I was up at a dealership not too long ago, and I mean they had a car up there, a really nice one too. It was a high-end exotic, right?
Right.
And it had been sitting outside with the windows open for like months. And if you looked in, you could see that it had, rusted bolts on the floor. The seats were, the seats were water stained, right? And I was talking to somebody. They said they pulled like half a gallon of water out of the dash.
Dude, that's ridiculous.
And I was like, I mean,
that is crazy.
It hurts me like as a car guy to see something like that and be like, oh my God, that's a car I'd love to own. That's a car I think is amazing. Yeah. And then to see it like hurt, like open, like I will tell you one of the saddest things I've ever seen. So right after I bought my Aston, I found a car I really, really liked. Right. And I went up there to look at it after that. I was like, all right, I might get this one next or whatever. And so I go up there to look at this car, and it was on a lift, and the engine of the car was on the ground.
Oh yeah. Well,
and it was literally like walking in on a loved one, seeing open heart surgery. Right. I was like, oh my God. It was terrible. But the funny thing was, it wasn't anything serious. They fixed it. It was something that was like, they were, the way it was built, you basically had to do that to do whatever they were doing.
Right.
But seeing it like that, I had zero interest in buying the car after that.
Well, see, that stuff doesn't really bother me, but I come from the mechanical background. So
I mean, I do too. I don't mind working on cars, but it was one of those things that was like, if I had owned it and knew that was the process, right, and I knew that that's what they had to do to fix it, it'd be a different story.
Right. The problem, but when you're looking at buying it,
I went to go look at buying this thing, and the engine's out on the ground. I was like, "Oh my God, what is happening?"
Just come on back and check it out, man. Oh, it's in good shape.
Oh God, that was not great. That was not great. But no. So I was impressed at Caffeine and Octane because it was packed out like crazy. It was unbelievable the amount of people that were there, and the weather wasn't great. I mean, it really wasn't good. Caffeine and Octane. So if you look at like their progression, right, they've stepped it up incredibly. I mean, I didn't even realize, because I spend most of the time like kind of in that center area,
Right.
We got there on Sunday, and I kind of gave my son one of my cameras, and I was like, dude, go around and take pictures of anything that you think is cool.
Right.
Take pictures, take videos, we'll do something with it. Just do it. So you see what you think is cool. And we started walking all over that place. The motorcycle section, the amount of people that turned up on Sunday with motorcycles was nuts. And it was awesome, and I'm walking around. I'm like, I like that bike. I like that bike. I like that bike.
Dude, there was just so many people in one location.
Yeah.
That was crazy. When we were pulling out of there, I was like, I mean, I'm in your car. It's not my car. So instantly I'm on like a heightened level of don't get close to this thing. Right.
Right.
And we're pulling out of there, and I'm just like, oh my God, all these people. And they're taking pictures and videos and all this stuff. And behind me is a Lamborghini SV just pinging off the rev limiter every now and then. Just
Yep.
And I mean, it was super cool. It was a fun experience. But man, it's that level of stress, it's like that's heightened. It's cool though.
I know a couple people with Lamborghini Aventador SVs, and there's a couple people that I know that just, pin them to the rev limiter.
It makes me
and the thing is, like, say what you will about it, however you feel about it, whatever. But credit to Lamborghini for building a motor that can handle that.
It's
look at some of the stuff these people do, and credit to Lamborghini. So
Well, I grew up going to bike rallies, and I remember like,
Yep.
that was the guy that's like running through the crowd, just blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
and to me, like looking back at it, when I was a kid, I thought that was just the coolest thing in the world.
Really?
Yeah, man. When I was a kid, I was like, dude, hit it, give me this sound. Now I know I'm old because I'm like,
right,
dude, that's enough of that, man. Like, cut the music down. Let's
that's
relax a
enough.
little bit.
That's enough. No.
But
And then the other thing that I didn't realize, I guess I just hadn't been over that side in a minute, is they had all kinds of like food trucks. They had like a waffle food truck and
so
a
that's
chicken food
definitely
truck.
new because
Yeah.
at Perimeter they didn't have that.
No.
At
It was
Perimeter,
awesome.
and I'll say that though, Perimeter to me seemed a lot more. How do I say this? A lot more. I don't know of a nice way to put this, but
Where are you going with this?
a lot more classy, right?
Really?
Where, to me,
All
it
right.
just seemed a lot more classy, like more of an event. It was almost like Caffeine and Exotics, right?
Yeah.
Caffeine and Exotics, where they did it like once a month, or once a year, once a quarter, or something. And to me, that was like an invite only type thing and all that. This is just kind of like boom, everybody, anything, you buy it, you bought it, you bring it. It's crazy, which is a good and a bad thing because you get all walks of life walking through there.
No, I thought it was really cool. Now, I will say two of my favorite cars were the dining cars.
Oh, the dining cars, the M2 and the what other car did we bring? I think it was just the M2 and the
no, it's the
M240.
Volkswagen GTI.
Oh, that's the APR car, yeah. APR and dining car, yeah. They're cool, man. A lot of fun, super cool.
I took pictures of both those. They're super cool. I will say, I could probably fit my hand in the exhaust on the back of that M2.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's like a coffee cup. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I don't know why. I really like that car. I would have so much fun in that car.
That car gets a lot of hate because of the looks, considering the older M2 looked a lot better. But man, the M2 is an awesome car, man. Like even me, like when I had the Z0 or the C8, the base car, I was like, man, maybe I'll buy one of these and add it to the collection to drive to work and all that.
I told you, man, I found that purple one, and I don't know why. I'm really into that color purple in that car. I don't know. I've never owned a purple car. I just maybe it's time.
So my wife likes purple cars. I don't like that color. Now, the only time I like purple is when you mix it with like lime green, and then you get like the Joker vibe.
I was about to say, are you planning to like take out the Batman? What is happening
that's
here?
Just a cool like color combo to me. It's like so interesting, and it's not something you normally expect. So I kind of like that. I've seen like 2 Lamborghinis with that color like combo, and to me, that's the way to go. Like for sure.
I will say, and I know I've got a picture of it. I think it's out on our Instagram. But when Lamborghini Atlanta Motor Cars did their Lamborghini showroom like relaunch, they had this purple SV there, and it was. I still think about that car. It's one of the coolest cars I've ever seen. I will tell you though, you could give me an SV tomorrow. I had nowhere to put it. Those things are so long. I don't think it'd fit in my garage.
Dude, I want one. I'd love to have like an Aventador or something like that.
I'd love to have an Aventador.
I think so. This weekend, I drove your 600 LT, and I was like,
"So tell me about that. What did you? Give me your honest feedback on the 600 LT." Now, granted, for those of you listening, it was rainy. Well, it wasn't rainy. It was wet. And wet. He didn't put it in active mode, so he drove it in like the tamest mode possible.
Right. So in the tamest mode possible, I drove it to Caffeine and Octane. I did put it in active going back to your house. But
okay, all right.
Yeah, but I never paddle shifted it, so I didn't get the full experience. The car's quick. The car's definitely quick. It's a
good way to describe it.
Yeah, it's a cool like ride. Like you're sitting in a position that feels like a race car. And it's what you would want a car to feel like as a race car to me on the street. And I think it's really on that borderline edge of a little too aggressive, but still a little still street car. And I really like it, dude. Like a lot.
What did you think about being so low to the ground? I mean, that's the lowest car I've ever owned, except for the Roussillon Q1. That's the lowest car I've ever owned.
So it's not bad. I actually like that driving position. Like, I like to be low to
I
the
do
ground
too.
like that. And,
I do too.
I really like to compare it a lot to, like, the Z06, right? But the Z06 seating position is a little higher. I know, yeah, whatever. I haven't owned a McLaren yet, so I can only compare it to what I've had, and that was a Z06, Adam. And,
I mean, technically, you've got one you can drive now, so you're good to go.
right. Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Right.
True friend.
Yeah. No,
You know he
I
likes
thought
you
it
if
was.
he'll
I thought
loan
it was.
out his car to you.
No, I thought it was really cool. I mean, it was
Yeah,
good to see the car out on the road. It was good. It was good to kind of get your
absolutely.
feedback on it, right?
Right.
But you know what's crazy about it is that car is quick, and you put it in active
Yeah,
mode, and it's really quick. But
right.
that 765 is a whole other level. I
Is it
mean, that
usable
is
on the street, though? That's the part
yes,
that's, like, tough.
yes,
Like,
yeah, I can use it
yeah, I mean,
once,
yeah, yeah, right.
one good time. I could use it, no problem.
One good solid pass, baby, let's go.
One good solid.
I'll say this, so, this
Ooh.
weekend, looking towards the next car, and I really want a 600 LT or, like, a 720, and I'm between the 2, and I haven't driven the 720 yet. Jessica wants to ride in it, see what she thinks, and the only reason why I would pick the 720 over the 600 LT is because of the trip back and forth to Atlanta or trips out of town, but that's really it, you know? What'd you say?
Active
What?
rear wing.
Oh, the
That's the
active rear
reason
wing
why I picked the
is cool.
720. I will
Yeah,
tell you, there's nothing cooler than riding behind. My friend's got a 765 and
yeah,
watching that wing dance the whole time. He gets on the gas,
yeah,
he gets on the brakes, and seeing that thing go up. Now, I will tell you, the 675, right? You step on the
okay.
brakes, you better hope to God that there's nobody behind you,
Oh, is it
because
that?
it flips up and
Yeah,
you can't see out the back window.
right,
Right? It dominates the whole window. So you just praying that nobody's late braking behind you because you're in trouble.
right.
But
So below in the
yeah,
comments, y'all, let us know what car you would pick: 720S or 600 LT McLaren, or what would you buy in the $200,000 range? Because that's about where you need to be to get that
yeah,
car. Yeah,
yep. So with that being said, you did buy a McLaren this weekend, right?
absolutely did. Yeah, it was so that McLaren
Super fancy too, right?
was a lot cheaper. A lot cheaper. Yeah, and that thing's super cool. She's still putting it together downstairs right now. Like, she's going ham putting it together. So, what we ended up getting, we went and test drove a 600 LT this weekend. We're debating between the 600 LT and the 720S, and we settled right smack dab in the middle on a McLaren race car Lego set. I know, people, it was wild.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, no,
And
it's
the
super
funny
cool.
thing was, Jess came over with you on Saturday, and she saw, because I mean, obviously I've got all these Legos in here. I've got a whole
Yeah,
shelf full of all the Lego Speed Champions, and Jess saw the Lego McLaren. She's like, I
yep,
want one.
yep,
I want it. And I
yep.
was like, funny story, where we're going tomorrow, there's one right next door. I know for a fact.
I had
And so
the I had the
we rolled over there. I've never seen anybody so happy my whole life. She was walking down the aisle, holding it with both hands, smiling ear to ear. It was hilarious.
we'll post the picture of her with her new toy.
Yeah,
But
there you
yeah,
go.
man, that thing was super cool. And it looks great. It's gonna be very cool. It's gonna go on our, like, we got an entrance table with, like, cars on it and stuff, so that's gonna go with that. It'll look really cool. Yeah, the
On
other
that
fun
subject,
thing
well, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
the other fun thing was giving your son a $10
Oh
allowance
my God.
to go find a toy in this store. And man, he spent hours just digging away trying to figure it out. And he was like, he'd pick it up and he'd be like, "Oh, it's
Okay. Okay. Hold
$12."
on a second here. Let's give a little bit more context here, right? So so my 12-year-old son decided he wanted a toy in the store, and John was like, "Hey, I'll give you $10. You can have one thing, but it has to be under $10, right?
Yep.
And under $10 with tax." My son's picking up like cars and trucks and all kinds of stuff, and all of them were over 10. They were $9.99, $10.49, $12, $14. It was hilarious.
And my wife was trying to get me to come up on the budget, and I was like, absolutely not. We're sticking to
it. You were just enjoying the crap out of that.
That was fun, man.
So on the topic of the McLaren Lego.
Yeah.
The first race of F1 was this weekend.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So kind of a snooze fest.
It was. So this is the first ever Bahrain that didn't have a safety car.
Yeah.
That didn't have any retirements, right?
No retirements.
And I mean, that by itself is kind of ho-hum.
Yeah. I mean,
I will say what was interesting about it.
There's really no
there was
drama.
Really no action.
Yeah, there was really no
except
drama.
For the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right. But what was interesting about it though was we were very close to having like Red Bull, what was it? Ferrari,
right.
Mercedes, McLaren, Aston, right? It was very close to being that way. If we just could have had one more overtake, right? It would have been 2-2-2. But if the rest of the season is just Max checking out again,
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. You just watch everybody from second place on and enjoy that race.
Just watch the rest of it. It'll be fine,
Yeah, man. Obviously as a Max fan, I want to see him do well. I'm wearing a Ferrari jacket today, so I'm happy to see Ferrari do well. And like you said, Ferrari doing well is great for the sport. And if that happens, that'll be cool. There was some small battles. To see Sainz finish above Leclerc was really cool. I'll say I was way off on my prediction. McLarens didn't.
Who did I say? My prediction. So I said Red Bull, and then McLaren, right? Lando.
Yes. Yeah, we both said Lando.
That did not happen. That did not work.
Lando and Piastri, and they're probably working some balance issues out of the car, right? So. But yeah, the McLaren.
The big news from the weekend was Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda.
Yes, and that was, Yuki just went real childish at the end there. It's a little crazy
that was crazy
to go and do that dive bomb on him on the cool down lap. Like, come on, man, that's extreme. But another thing, Christian Horner got cleared of all wrongdoings, and he's still there. There's also still rumblings in the background of all what's going on with that and what it could be. What else is going on? Oh, Alpine. Ooh, they did not look good. They did not look good at all.
They looked rough.
That was
real rough.
Bad. And then, both of their aerodynamic engineers quit after the race.
I know. Yeah. Quit.
That is just a management struggle right there. Like, good luck, guys.
Now, is it this year or is it next year that they're sponsored by that investment group that Ryan Reynolds is part of?
They're already there.
Year, right? Oh, they're already there.
They're already there, is my understanding. Like, they already own it. But I don't know if that has anything to do with that. You know what I mean? Like, they've been on a downward spiral since Ricciardo left and went to McLaren. Yeah, that's the honest truth, and it's not gotten better. So I don't know, man. Maybe they'll clean it up by the end of the year, but I know that the Haas looked pretty good. They were in front of both Yuki and Ricciardo. Yeah, K-Mag was doing pretty well, and but they always kind of start strong at the beginning of the year, and then by the end of the year, it's like they made 0 upgrades on the car. They didn't put any money into the investment, and it sucks.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But so there's another race coming up. We'll have to see what happens with that one. But
right.
All in all, it was a pretty fun weekend. I was thinking about doing this podcast with you tonight, and one of the things I always laugh at is we'll be driving around, and I'll see I'll be like in my X5 driving around, and I'll look over, and on the other side of the road will be like a Ferrari, and a Lamborghini. And the first thing in my head is like, wait, guys, I got a cool car too. I want to come play.
Yeah.
I want to come play cars.
Let's do this, man. And then, no, what sucks is when you're in like a normal car and then you're like waving and you're like, I've got a cool car too. And they're like, they don't care. They're like, oh, yeah, right. Who's that guy?
I mean, that's
right.
it. Yeah. But one of the funniest things my friend ever said to me. So we went to a car show last year, and it was out in Ackworth. And it was a great car show. They put it on every year. It's in a really, really nice location. And I called a friend of mine, and I was like, hey, man, come out. You know, he's got a brand new, he's got the all-electric Hummer, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And, you know, you don't see a ton of them. And so when he brings it out, people have a lot of questions and everything. So he rolls up in it. And we get done. I'm like, hey, you know, it's late. Let's all go eat. And he's like, hold on, I'm gonna make a phone call, see if I can keep playing cars. And I was like, man, that's awesome. I was like, from now on, I'm gonna be like, ooh, can I play cars too?
Yeah,
I want to play cars.
We're just big kids at heart, man.
Oh, for sure. I sent you that meme the other day, which said you can't possibly expect adults that grew up collecting Hot Wheels as kids to have one car.
Right.
And that is dead on accurate.
We're just doing our best to keep growing the collection.
Doing our best.